So welcome everybody to the GAA's second webinar. Do you know what Fei Cui is? We're very lucky to have our two panelists here, Ronnie Bauer and Tay Thye Sun. They will discuss this terminology, Fei Cui, and all sorts of things on jadeite. Please put your hand up. Actually, figuratively speaking, down the bottom, there should be a little hand. Put your hand up if you don't know Ronnie Bauer.
Yeah. Oh,
So
now you got 100.
Raise their hands. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So Ronnie has been with the GAA so long that his Honorary Life Membership was bestowed back in 2001. He has been Chairman, President, Secretary, Treasurer on federal and state levels, and is currently serving on the Jewellers Association Board, the GAA Board, along with the Victorian Board. He owns Kleppner's Jewellers down in Melbourne and is a fifth generation jade dealer.
Antique jeweler.
Jade dealer and antique jeweler. Okay. Tay Thye Sun has been both a retailer and a wholesaler in his quest for accurate information, he turned into a researcher and established his own very sophisticated laboratory in Singapore, from where he now teaches. He also teaches from there, and many of you may remember Tay from lectures in Australia when he went around Australia doing Jade 3-day lectures. He's also been a participant at two of our recent conferences, the 2008 and 2016. We would like to thank both the presenters for the generosity of their knowledge and time. So at the end, the protocol will be, we'll have question and answers. So everybody please put your questions into the Q&A box below. Everybody's muted for the entire webinar, as it's just crazy if you've got, we're up to 105 people now talking.
Wow.
So you guys will be muted and the videos won't show. And any questions, put them in the Q&A box. You can chat to people in the chat box, but the answers, the questions need to go into the Q&A box. Okay, everybody enjoy. Take it away, Ronnie.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this GAA lecture. And a big welcome from Phillip Island, and that's why the penguins are behind us. And I'm outside of the Petri dish, usually known as Melbourne. I've been a director of Kleppner's Jewellers for over 40 years, and I've been teaching at the GAA, as we said, Jade, for many, many, many years. I learned about Jade from my dad, Dr. Albert Simons, who in the late 80s was one of the first, without the sophisticated equipment that we have today, realizing that something more than dye was going into the jadeites at the time because he had a degree in chemistry. He used to own a business called the Jade Gallery in Melbourne, and it was well known not only in Australia, but in China at the time. Before we go on, I would like to acknowledge the landslide that happened in Myanmar just a few weeks ago, where 120 people were killed, including children. And we, on behalf of the GAA, pass on our best respects to those people. So I will now share the screen. And let's hopefully this will come up. And it does. Well, the practice worked. Excellent. So I wish to talk about jade and its imitants and its treatments. And I will do part of the presentation, and then Tay will come in with his knowledge and experience in Myanmar and his take on the pyroxenes and the amphibole group as well. So let's start off. Jade is a family name. It is not one mineral or the other. It is a name encompassing two major groups. One is the pyroxene group, which in China is called Fei Cui, or as we know better in the West, jadeite jade. And the other is the amphibole group, which in China is called Yu, or we call it the nephrite group. So the pyroxene group, as we've discovered recently, really is three minerals that make one group. And it is jadeite, anthracite, and cosmochlore. You can see here, and I don't want to make this a scientific thing tonight, here is the scientific structure of the sodium silicates. The important thing is a polycrystalline structure, which makes it one of the toughest materials. And if you've done your gemmo, you will know it's the refractive index, its specific rarity, and its hardness. Notice its hardness is different from its toughness. The other side is the amphibole group, which is the nephrite group, which comprises of two minerals, tremolite and actinolite. And you can see it's a very nice, long, complicated formula, and I don't intend to say it because I'll get it wrong. 6.6 is the hardness. The Ri again is 1.6 and 1.64 in the SG. And a little bit of historical fun at this point. In the 1700s, when the minerals were sent to Paris for study, what we call today jadeite and what was then nephrite was switched around. And in the old days, the nephrite was called nephrite because it's of the nephrons, and the Chinese believed if you ingested it, it would be good for the kidneys. And subsequent research has actually shown that nephrite has got some medicinal qualities and can heal in some cases in Chinese medicine. So let's start off with the colors that you can find the two groups in. First of all, the nephrite. It comes in white, which is called mutton fat. It comes in brown. It comes in black. And it also comes in green. The jade of Fei Cui comes in white, yellow, grey, brown, red, lavender, and various shades of green. Now the greens are allochromatically colored by chromium, which is well known for our gemmology. Chromium gives the best greens. If you look at alexandrite, if you look at emerald, that's all by chromium, and the same is for what we call jadeite jade. It's manganese is allochromatically the element that colors the lavender jade, which is the mauve or purple color, and the yellow, brown, red colors are due to oxidation of the boulders. So that's how they find it, and the iron oxidation. Now, what has really turned the jade school, or the people are in it, was in 2014, when GIA discovered that every cabochon of what we call dead jadeite has a proportion of cosmochlore, anthracite, and jadeite. And we believe now it's an isomorphic replacement series. So is it a rock or is it not a rock? Tay will have a take on this. I think it's a bit homogeneous, especially when we look later on at poor little Mao Tse. So here's a big chart for jadeite jade, Fei Cui. I don't intend to go through all of it because I believe this is being recorded and you can then pick it up for yourself. But as you can see, the three minerals and the compositions and what colors them. So to the nephrite or the tremolite actinolite series, the same sort of chart with all the various physical properties. The one that's really interesting in the nephrite series is the luster and to greasy, vitreous to greasy luster. And to me, this is the most important slide in the whole presentation that I make, not only tonight, but also to Gem 2 students, is the structure of the two minerals, of the two jades. On the one on the left, have a look at this interlocking aggregate of monoclinic crystals. So it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle and looks a bit like a rock. So this is what gives rise to what we call the isomorphic replacement series. And it makes the toughness because of this interlocking structure. The nephrite on the other side here, if you can imagine a rope, a twisted coiled rope, and you can see here, or even wool, how it runs in streaks. And this is what gives nephrite its incredible toughness, is this interlocking monoclinic series of crystals and the matting effect. And if you look at the two of them, you can see there's quite a difference in the way they look. So the locations of jadeite jade. The most important, the principal location is Myanmar or Burma. A lot of people say it's the Burmese jade. They're talking about jadeite jade. Guatemala in Central America. There's some in the USA, some in Russia, and some in Switzerland. But really, the two that really count are the first two there. Nephrite, the locations, again, Taiwan, which is an island to the east of China, and it's the principal location of jade in China, and probably the most famous. You've got British Columbia, which is on the western side of Canada, and Siberia, which is on the eastern side of Russia. And if you think geologically, if you push the map together, the two of them meet up there. So obviously that's why the two of them make this beautiful, really beautifully colored nephrite. Now we have some in Australia as well, in Cal, South Australia, which I'll show you later, and New Zealand. What they call New Zealand greenstone is a nephrite. And this slide, which Tay kindly lets me use for the Gem 2 students, shows all the locations of the jades on the globe. Here you have, in the circles is for the nephrite, the triangles is for the jadeite, and if you look here, that's where Siberia is, this is where British Columbia is, and this is what I was talking about, where the two sort of meet. And here we have a jade market at a trade show. And obviously this dealer is very active, is getting a lot of business for his jade boulders, which you can see here that have been mined. And there's his foot. And how they mine it is really what I wouldn't call occupational health and safety, or in this day of conservation, not really safe. Because in the old days, what they used to do, they just take these water guns and just wash them out the way the boulders would roll down. And the guns were usually held by children, and they just jumped out of the way when the boulders came down. I'm sure they're using far more sophisticated equipment now, but still it's quite a dangerous art to mine for jade. Right, now this is when, if I go back one slide, if I can, you see that the guy here is selling the boulder as a whole boulder. And you can see there he's sliced, and here you've got windows polished into the boulder. And the reason for that is the Asians love to gamble when they buy these boulders. So what you can see here is how quickly the color in jadeite jade can change within millimeters in a boulder. So imagine if you cut the window here, you have some nice green. But almost, if you go a little bit to the left, you can see it's inferior quality white jade. On this side, you've got a bit more. And you can't quite tell the consistency of the color of a boulder when you buy it. So they slice it through now to take the gamble away. What this boulder shows, though, is the oxidation. This is what makes the brown red here, which is a very desirable color and used a lot in jade jewelry or in objects, etc. But you can see in the middle here, this is quite poor quality jadeite. And this is what they would use for making B and BC type jadeite. They would cut that out, and somebody clever would do this, either make cabochons, bangles, or even some objects. Now, this is a picture of a nephrite boulder from British Columbia. This is a fence. So it gives you a scale how large this boulder is. It's a ripper. And here, if we go back to that triangular shaped boulder I showed you, this actually is about 3 meters tall. It came into my store for evaluation because, believe it or not, somebody stole it and the police got it and it took 3 of them to carry it in. And the clever artist, this is the outside skin of the boulder. He carved it like a bee's hive. You can see the little bees here. He's carved a hive, and up here you've got some flowers. It was a beautiful piece. And this object is a little pendant, and you can see here where they've used all the various colors of the jadeite to make this pendant. And there's some of the colors up there. And outside here, you've got the white section, the white piece as well. I would call this a hamburger with the lot. Okay, when you come to the prism absorption spectrum of the green, what we look for is the chromium, the doublet up in the top end here. That's always nice to find. Down here is always a bit difficult to find, but we like to find that. And this chart by John Root et al. And Edward, hang on, what's his name? John N. and Edmund Root. They put this chart together of the various colors of the jadeite, jade. And you can see you get the lavenders here, the brown reds here, and all the various colors of green here. And at this point, I will stop. Where's Tay gone? I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute. Hang on. Catherine, are you there?
Yes, we're here. We're just going to...
Is Tay there? Okay.
Yes.
Tay,
Yes.
come in, do your
Yes.
part, and then we'll come into the end. I'll come back, all right?
Okay. Let me.
And Ronnie, you just need to take your video off.
Can you see?
Excellent. Yes, we can see, Tay.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to thank Kathy and Ronnie for inviting me to this webinar. And I appreciate very much because go way back almost 30 years ago when Dr. Graham Brown came to Singapore, and we were very fortunate to have him lecture to us. And of course, I always appreciate his presence at that time, and we were such a good friend, and we were together in the International Gemological Conference for almost 20 years. And of course, I still miss him anyway. So before I go on, I like to acknowledge, like Ronnie, that the victims of the jade mine collapse in northern Myanmar, Pagan region, and my sympathy go out to the families of 120 people who have perished during that landslides. Okay, for myself, I've been doing this jade research back in the late 80s and early 90s. And the reason for doing this research on jade is because of the treatment. And as a result, I collaborate with the Physics Department, National University of Singapore, back in 1989, 1990. And at the same time, also worked with the Life Science Department. At the time, they got a scanning electron microscope for me to scan the surface of the treated jade. So that's how I got into the research level of jadeite materials. Okay, so continue from what Ronnie has just left off. I will just give you an introductions, and then followed by a Mandalay jade market. And then, of course, I just give you an idea of recently, the last 3 years, the Yangon International Gems and Jewelry Fair, they have been doing this association, Yangon Gem Association has been promoting this selling of Burmese gemstones in Yangon itself. So this is very important. Then the next one, the last one, of course, is corporate social responsibility, especially for gemologists like us, we need to disclose on what we are looking, and we're testing them. And this is from the trade point of view and also the scientific point of view, which I will talk about the nomenclature of jade. Okay. And of course, just introductions. Burma, of course, is very famous for his ruby and historical exploited for rubies in Mogot starting back more than 1,000 years ago. And I think two years ago, they celebrate their 800th anniversary actually. And besides ruby, they have a major location of jade mining in Pagan region, in the northern regions. You can see on the map on the right-hand side, the Pagan region is right to the tip there. And of course, Mogot is further down, close to the center of Myanmar. And there in Mogot itself, I've been many times there. And you can see ruby mining, sapphire mining, spinels, and a solid gemstone, and even very rare gemstone too. And besides that, of course, Mogot itself, they have Mangshu. Mangshu ruby has been mined since 1990. Rubies and sapphires in the Dongji area, in the East Shan states, in the eastern part. And other than rubies and sapphires or even jadeite, they have amber from Tanai, which is right to the north, right to the tip of the northern Burma, Tanai area. And in the central also, they have amber mining tilling, which I wrote about it in 2015 and published in the Journal of Gemology. And of course, if you might ask me, amber from Burma has been around for more than 2,000 years. And many of the Chinese people have been buying, besides rubies and jadeite, they have amber too. So there's a long history there. And besides trading of amber, there's a lot of interesting fossils and fauna and flora been discovered in the Burmese amber. So that is something to watch out for. And up downstream, of course, you have a lot of gem cutting going on, jewelry manufacturing, education like myself. And of course, I went to Burma to give a lecture there too, and also gem testing laboratory. And from Harvard report issued in 2013, they estimated about gem revenue is about $8 billion. And of course, more recently, somebody put it at $30 billion. I don't know which one to pick up, but this is the realistic one. The Harvard one is the 2011 is $8 billion. It's a lot for the country. And of course, this money can help the country to come up to the world stage. So Jade, as I say just now, became very important to the Chinese. And why? Because it was during the Qianlong period, the Qing dynasty, and the discovery of northern part of Burma in Pagan region of jadeite material, and the green color attracted the emperor, and of course the legacy continued until today. Okay. And last year I was very fortunate enough, got invited to the Mandalay Yatana Mall International Gems and Jewelry Fair and of course, I went there to give a lecture. This is the opening ceremony of the Yatana Mall Gems and Jewelry Fair. And there we have give a lecture. I give a lecture about the jadeite treatment as well as the nomenclature. And I cannot speak Burmese, so I got this Dr. Tatino. He's now the Director General of the Ministry of Mine to help me to translate. And he's a very good translator, by the way. So I thank him for that. And of course, just after the seminar, I went to visit the Mandalay Jade Market. This is a photo of the Jade Market. On entering into the Jade Market, you can see that there's a lot of the motorcycles have been parked out there, and people are bringing jade early in the morning. And of course, they bring to the Jade Market, and you can see here, the Jade Market, many of this jade border has been cut open so that this half, as Ronnie was saying, to expose the material itself. And then you can see them right in the foreground. You can see them, they have a lot of materials been cut open, and you can see the green, part of the green. And if you are interested to buy, you can bargain with them. They give you a price and you can bargain from there. So the experience of bargaining is another matter altogether, although I'm a gemologist plus geologist by background, I love to travel to this part of the world to see, and also I gamble on it. Okay, to take a look at it and buy a small boulder or two and send it to a cutter to cut it open and see whether I can get a lot of good green inside. But other than that, you can get, besides jadeite, you have cosmochrome, and mentioned Ronnie mentioned just now, cosmochrome can have a spot of dark green, which is chromium itself, and then surrounded by lighter green color. You can see at the foreground. And of course, other than that, you can, another photo here, you can see quite a number of cosmochrome right in front, but the rest are all jadeite material itself, and not treated, by the way, all natural, okay, coming from the mine itself. And they cut half, and then you are interested, just buy a boulder and slice a bit further and see what is inside, you know. So this is in Mandalay Jade Market itself. And once you buy the boulder, and you can go to a cutter just next to it or further down the road in one of the corners, and the jade cutter will just cut it open, pay him some money, and see whether you got the luck of seeing any green. And if he's got green, then good luck. So you can see on the left-hand side, you can see the large saw, which will be saw through. It takes hours to saw through the jade boulder because jadeite is very tough material itself. And on the right-hand side here, the gentleman was sawing a small boulder, which I given to him, and he will just saw it in front of me, and then after that, expose the inside, see whether there's green color or not. And once you're done that, if you get some green color, you go to a polisher, he will grind down to a cabochon material, and this chap here who do the grinding and polishing, and the other side, on the left-hand side here, is this young man who is doing the doping. So this is a constant business going on in Mandalay Jade Market itself. And besides this cutting and polishing of the jadeite material, there are people who go around selling jade for sale in the market itself. Left-hand side, you can see the photo of the brown, or Ronnie just mentioned is red jade, but then for us, we call it brown jade. When you mention the word red jade, it sounds very interesting and it's very valuable. But mind you, some of this red color that you can see on the left-hand side could be heat treated. So there's another story. You need to do the research on it. So far, not many people done the research, you know, on this for the last 30 years. So for myself, I'm too old already. Anyway, on the right-hand side, you have the ophicite, the black, dark jade, dark green color material, and set in a ring like this, or even a pendant, and you can just ask them how much it costs, and then you can bargain from there. Start with maybe half or something like that. Okay. So other than that, you can, besides there are people who show you the material itself, there are people who, jade cutter or polisher will bring a whole bunch of material and bring it to the market and sell it to the Chinese there. There are Chinese people from Yunnan or even from Guangzhou will be there to buy your product. And why you may say that the Chinese have a lot of jade, and then why did they have to come to Mandalay to buy? The reason because the Chinese take a look at the material and find that if this material can be further improved, then they will just buy it and then bring back to Yunnan or even in Guangzhou and retouch up again and polish it better, improve the quality of polish, and make the jade looks much better and sell it in the market. So as you know, China is a big market, more than 1 billion people. So Burma is just next door. So many of this material have to go back to go into Chinese market and sell it in China or even Guangzhou. Okay. And for those people like gemologists like myself and many of you out there, you want to know the price of the material itself. So I bring you to the jade market, gem exhibition. This is last year, you know, the Yangon International Gems and Jewelry Fair. They had it in the first week or 9th of January 2019. Okay, on the left-hand side of the photo is Miss Majan. is the vice chairman of the Yangon International Gems and Jewelry Fair, and she's my good friend. Take a look, and maybe you can say hello to her when you go there to Yangon. And it's going to be a yearly affair, okay, for the Burma to go international market. So once you enter into the auction house, there on the right hand side there, you can see they display a lot of gemstones, from ruby, sapphire to ruby, sapphire into jade and so on, or even peridot for that matter. I will show you some more. So you can see here, the 2019, they have quite a number of pieces of very good quality material, except the color is not. You can see there, lot number 107 until lot 103. 107 is Buddha carvings, and this is very translucent, 28.9 gram, and the reserve price was 750,000 US dollar. It's a lot of money there. Huh? So one lot number 105, you know, 2 pieces of jadeite jade is intense green, size smaller, and 27.89 at 7 carats, and the reserve price was $75,000. So you can imagine if you were to find some of this material in Sydney, you know, and if it's natural, by all means, you know, you can buy them. I know that in Australia, they are not very keen on the jadeite material itself, but of course, you have the migration of many Chinese from China going to Sydney and Melbourne, or even the rest of Australia. They brought the culture, the jade culture along with them. And so they will be, you know, it'll be quite interesting to see, okay? So the jade bangle, there are 3 jade bangle right in front here. Lot number 104, 99 gram is 75,000. So it's small, thin green, small, tiny green, and then it's asking for that kind of price, you know. So the color itself is important, translucency of the material is important, and quality of polish of the material itself, very important. So all these 3 or 4 factors you have to take into consideration when you look at a piece of jade, okay? And the lot number 103, 78 gram, and $55,000, a small patch of green. I have one student who is a French, he's Irish, and he's staying in Singapore, and he went back home, and then he dropped by Paris and went to one of the small little antique shop, okay? And he found a jade bangle, okay? Like in what you're seeing here on this picture here, lot number 99, a patch of green. You know how much he bought? It was only 20 euro. He's going to make a big profit from there. You know, I told him, I said, you're very lucky. So you can imagine many places, especially in the Western country, they don't appreciate jade itself. And there's a small, tiny green. You know, I told him that jade bangle looked quite similar to lot number 99, and it was worth at least 10,000. That was a couple of years back. So now this reserve price of lot 99 is 25,000 US dollar. Okay. So another section whereby there are a couple of pieces of jade bangle and pendant, just to highlight to you. Okay, lot number 108. Okay, 40 gram. Very translucent. Color is not there, and yet the price is 950,000 US dollar. So imagine that the price is quite enormous. Okay, so these are the jadeite pricing, and the next one will be ruby. And just to highlight a bit, the ruby of lot number 42 was lot number 40, 59 carat, 0.46, and $500,000 US dollar. Wow. And of course, other than that, you got the 10 carat ruby, which is lot number 40 on the right hand side here, is $50,000. So you have to see the quality, the color, transparency of the material itself, and the quality of polish too. So it's very important. Next one, of course, you have the sapphires. On the other hand, you have lot number 68, which is 12 carat, is 99,000 US dollar. Okay. So anyway, just a quick one, just to show you they have a range of peridot, lot number 96, a range of 90 sapphires of different color, 98. So the price, you can see them on your screen. The peridot is 236 carat and $53,000. And a suit of lot number 98 of sapphires, so it's 149 carats, is 100,000 US dollar. The whole show at that time, I remember the only thing that was sold, if I'm not wrong, lot number 88, there's a, you can see there, lot number 88 are made out of two pieces. One is the damburite, which is 83 carats, and the peridot is 40 carat, 21,500. I think it's slightly more than that, you know, and then they were sold in the auction. Okay, and probably one spinel was sold. So spinel price also is quite high for lot number 90. Oh, no, beg your pardon. Lot number 87. 87 is 19 carats, 77, US $20,000. So you can see the price is there. Okay. So just to give you an idea of before and after, is on the left-hand side of the photo of the slide itself, in March 2009, and Myanmar Gem Emporium auction, and this 5 block of jadeite rough, the reserve price was 1,280,000. Okay, and sold for 4 million euro. Okay, so imagine that was done 2009. On the right hand side, I was in 2017. I was invited by the Myanmar government to present a lecture on jade itself during their ASEAN summit. Okay, and in there they have an exhibit of lot 4958, 3 pieces, weigh 64 kilo. Okay, with the deep green color block, and you can see here the reserve price was 12 million euro. So imagine there's so much interest in China on the jadeite itself. And you might ask me why jadeite, you know, so much in price? Because Chinese realize that these are something that they can hold on to, just like gold or even diamond for that matter. So jadeite is precious to the Chinese, so they pay a lot of money for it. And these are non-renewable assets, you know. Once you have it, you have it, you know. Then you dig out from the ground, that's it. For the poor Burmese, they'll sell it, and then hopefully they can develop the country. And in future, you don't know where the next deposit of jadeite you're going to find, especially nice green material. So far, Burma produces about 90% of the world jade now. So this, and by the way, is the way they are digging the place is enormous, you know. So I wish them good luck. So the most price of this is the Imperial quality, which is translucent, even medium dark green jade, as Ronnie just mentioned. And of course, these are the one that is the most price of all. Okay, and so corporate social responsibility for a trade to need to disclose about what we are buying or even selling, or even as a gemologist, we do the testing and identification. And 2 examples I can give here. This was presented at the ASEAN Summit in 2017 in Naypyidaw, Burma. So on the trade level is natural versus the treated jadeite. On a scientific level is a nomenclature of jade. So of course, Ronnie just mentioned also the B plus C jade is, you have, back in the late 80s, they discovered a large mine of a Long King area. A lot of this jadeite material was of low quality. So what they do is they do the treatments in Hong Kong by a very smart young man in Hong Kong using his kitchen as a experimental place, and then found to lo and behold, you can bleach them. Instead of using plum juice to bleach, you can use acid to bleach them. Hydrochloric acid, or even now they use sulfuric acid for that matter, and even boiling them. And then as a result, the jade material can be cleaned up very nicely, and then followed by polymer impregnations. And that's the beginning of the BJ back in the late 80s. And then from there, I started to do research to find out how to identify them. Of course, you need infrared spectrometer to identify them. And infrared spectrometer was developed that time, was used by Dr. Emanuel Fritsch. And Emanuel Fritsch is now a professor at the University of Nantes. And formerly he was working with GIA, and then he used that technology to explore in identification of B jade, we call it today. So this is, you can see on the screen here, A jade is natural, B jade is treated with plastic or polymer impregnations. And of course, back then, there was no language to communicate among traders. So traders themselves get caught into buying all this plastic traded jade. So they have to come up with the word B for bleaching. So as a result of this word, B for bleaching, then they say, why not A? A is a natural. So A become natural, C become dye color, CJ become dye color, and then those with polymer and coloring is all B plus C. So B plus C, that means bleach them, dye them, and followed by polymer impregnation. So that was the language that was used back in the 1990s. Until today, we still can find this style of treatments in the market. And it's very sad, you know, I constantly have customers, sometimes will come in with a piece of jade bangle, which they pay a couple of $1,000s. And from some of the shops in their body during as a tourist in China or in Shanghai, for example. And when they bring in and we tell them it's a B plus C, he said, no, this is natural. No, I said, sorry, these are all treated with bleaching and polymer impregnation, color impregnation, and it's worth very little. They pay thousands of dollars of it. And very sad, non-disclosure. And what happened if you're non-disclosure? This is what happened. This slide shows you the rise and fall of jadeite. And this is not for me, it's from the Hong Kong domestic export and re-export and import polish of jadeite from 1987 to 1992. At the beginning, nobody disclosed, and so people just continue buying and selling from 1987 until 1989. And the peak was 1990. The sales of jadeite, if you can see the green bar, which is from $14 million, 1987, to $30 million, 1990, okay? Then the moment they discovered that many of jade are treated, so people just dump in the market and loss of trust and confidence for the trade, and it just went down so quickly from 30 million went down to 20 million in exports, okay? So that was 1991 and went further down a bit more until 1992, and then when the identification technique of using infrared spectrometer, and at the same time, that time I was working on scanning, besides using infrared, I was short of a couple of months to publish it. Professor Emanuel Fritsch published it together with his co-author. Good luck to him, very good. And then I was using scanning electron microscope to see the textural damage caused by acid treatment. And that time, Dr. Graham Brown was around. He said, quickly send it to me, I can publish for you. I said, okay, no problem. I quickly wrote this paper and it was published in the Australian Journal in 1993. If you can look up the journal, it's still there. Thank you very much, Dr. Graham Brown, with his quick help, you know. Otherwise, be somebody from China was publish it anyway. So this is non-disclosure. And once people non-disclosure, they lost confidence, they lost the trust, and the market just collapsed, you know. Okay. So very importantly, for any gemologists or even gem dealers or people like in the trade, we should disclose on what you're talking about. Okay. That's from the trade level point of view. So next one, of course, is classification of jade. And as you can see here, from the scientific point of view, just to give you a background, Ronnie already mentioned pyroxene. So this pyroxene is actually developed, this word itself was developed by the French. And the French is a gentleman by the name of pastor. He's a pastor, and his name is Judge Renel Judge Howie, H-A-U-Y. And he was the one who developed this pyroxene, because at the time there was a lot of confusion among the French on the different type of polycrystalline material, a rock material, and this polycrystalline material, they have different names to it. So as a result, he has to come up with a name to cover as a family names for the rest of all the other pyroxene mineral. And pyroxene, of course, is rock ferromagnesium silicate and found in most of the igneous rock. And this pyroxene they found that they have magnesium iron pyroxene, calcium sodium pyroxene. And of course, sodium pyroxene is jadeite. You have the sodium aluminum silicate. Okay. Then of course you've got smochrol. And the last one, of course, lithium pyroxene, which is spodumene. So spodumene come under pyroxene group, by the way. So those people who are buying and selling quinzite, this is under pyroxene group actually. So calcium sodium pyroxene, of course, you have the omphacite. So omphacite is calcium and sodium and magnesium iron silicate. Okay, so this is very important. So this is, and these are this pyroxene group was substantiated. A lot of research been done by the British geologists and mineralogists, dear Howard Zisman in 1970, and followed by Professor Morimoto as well in 1988. He was entrusted by the commissioner of the International Mineralogical Association to fortify this pyroxene group, and he done that, and it was published in the International Mineralogical Association journal. And so I mentioned just now, mineralogically jadeite and omphacite and cosmochrol, or even mauxite for that matter, is part of a pyroxene group. And some people in Hong Kong, and geologists also are there, professors, they use the word Fei Cui for jadeite. Yes, no problem, I agree with you. Fei Cui for jadeite, fine. But even went further, using Fei Cui to describe other pyroxene mineral. So they use the word Fei Cui omphacite, Fei Cui cosmochrol, Fei Cui jadeite, and I was totally disappointed. No way, you know. Already we have the jade I mentioned just now, like Ronnie just mentioned. Jade is you have the jadeite and you have the nephrite. Okay, so they already set up in the international body of these names, you know. So why do we have to bring in the Fei Cui? Fei Cui is only for the Chinese market, you know. Even the Chinese himself in mainland China, if you look at their nomenclature book, they use the word Fei Cui for jadeite, full stop. Whereas a bunch of people from Hong Kong went further by saying that, no, we use Fei Cui to describe omphacite, we use Fei Cui to describe cosmochrol, Fei Cui to jadeite. I said, no, this is not possible. So there was an international conference in 2015, and started by the International Colored Gemstone Association, we call it ICA, talking about the trade issues. And I was there, and Professor Ouyang was there, and many people, Dick Hugh was there too, and then we have people from Germany, Italy, and so on, from around the world were sitting around the table. And my question after the lecture given by Professor Ouyang about proposing Fei Cui to cover omphacite, cover cosmochrol and jadeite, my question to her was, if you want to use the word Fei Cui to replace pyroxene, have she get the permission from the IMA, International Mineralogical Association, to accept the name or not? She couldn't answer me. So now, since that time, she went, instead of going to IMA, she went to SIPJO and asked SIPJO to accept this name. And then, of course, now SIPJO, they have a discussion, so I cannot mention anything here. So hopefully SIPJO will have a bigger idea and just discuss with everybody so that everybody can, you know, have an idea of what is Fei Cui about. And then, of course, since Ronnie mentioned Fei Cui, I have to clarify that Fei Cui is only for jadeite only, you know, historically as well as from the gem point of view. Because if you look at the literatures by Webster's and all that, they will just mention in one line, jadeite is Fei Cui, or Fei Cui is, Jade is Fei Cui. That's it, full stop. You don't go on to reinvent the wheel, you know, okay? So I work with the people from Switzerland, Professor Liana Frank, Professor Henry, and Professor Henry Kapitani, Professor even Terapong, and Miss Wilawan Aticha from Thailand, you know. So very important scientists who have studied a lot about gemstone, and then to ask them to come and help me in this study of this polycrystalline material. And then we eventually did about nearly 88 sample of cutting and polishing, and then out of 100 sample, we used 88 sample, and half of it was do thin sectioning. We did thin sectioning. We did microprobe to go to chemical analysis and so on. And we found out that we just keep the word Jade. For everybody's good, because the word is not made just by Chinese alone. Sorry to say that, but then I'm Chinese origin, but then I'm based in Singapore. So I proposed to them that we should use the word, the old terms, you know, Jade. And if you want to use a bit further, you can use cosmogral jade. And cosmogral jade, some of my Burmese friends would not agree with me because it's multi-seed. And then on top of that, I have one very senior geologist who passed away, Dr. Win Tay. You know, he's a lecturer at the Yangon University Geology Department before, and he proposed, he ever used the word cosmogral jade before, so I'm quite confident on that. So on the other hand, we have the black jadeite, black material, dark material, called anthracite jade for that matter. So that was, we spent about 4 years doing this research. Anyway, it was published in the British Journal in 2014. Okay, just to give you an idea, the solid solutions series, and this triangular shape whereby you can see the distribution of the elements and the composition itself. And this triangle with ternary diagram. And on the left-hand side, left-hand corner, right bottom, is the jadeite, is sodium aluminum silicate. On the right-hand side, you have the sodium iron silicate, which is algerine. And on top there, which is quaternary lateral, which is the wolframite, anstatite, and felicillite. And of course, you can expand from there. And between that, the composition itself, okay, just to give you an idea of jadeite. You look at the left-hand corner, top left-hand corner is isosilicate. It's a single jadeite is made of pyroxene group, is a single chain silicate, okay? And this single chain silicate, of course, is made out of tetrahedral structure, SiO4. And the general formula is M2 bracket and M1 bracket and Si followed by aluminum and oxygen. And of course, this M1 and M2 site, these two different sites can be occupied by, M2 can be occupied by sodium, calcium, manganese, iron, or even magnesium. Okay, it's in the tetrahedral structure, octahedral structure, octahedral site, excuse me. And the M1 side, of course, you can have manganese, you can iron, magnesium, or aluminum, chromium, or titanium, filling the smaller octahedral sites. And for that, of course, for jadeite itself, you get the sodium, which is M2 site, and the M1 site you compose is got aluminum. And of course, if you have a slight variations of content of calcium and sodium, and of course, about 20% more percentage, and more of that, you have the presence of magnesium and iron. Then, of course, you have the anthracite for that matter. So this is very important for that, from the scientific point of view, that we need to go back to the basic of understanding this mineral itself, because it's a rock itself, is polycrystalline material. You cannot tackle the problem of just looking at rubies and sapphires, a crystalline material itself. So this is a polycrystalline material for that matter. So just to make for gemologists like myself or even jeweler, how do you go about identifying this material itself? And I mentioned to Ronnie the other day and Kathy, is that if you come across, you take the refractive index, you take the SG, or even for that matter, look at the inclusion, or even look at the grain size, grain structure, and all that. It boiled down to the absorption spectrum. Very important. So the absorption spectrum for jadeite is 437 nanometers. So very important. You look for this absorption band. This is the jadeite line, 437 absorption, the iron line. Okay. Ophusite, on the other hand, the refractive index is much higher. Its refractive index can go up to 1.67 to 1.68. Sometimes you may be a bit lower. There is no absorption band for 437. Okay. Okay. For Cosmocore, on the other hand, of course, this is a rock. Again, you can see a lot of chromium, dark chromium spots for that matter. So back to here, very importantly, for any gem dealers or even gemologists, look for this 437 absorption band. Okay. And of course, last one is reference number. You can take reference here. Very important. A lot of references you may into consideration. And acknowledgement. I have to acknowledge to all my Burmese friends, Do Majan, U Koanai, and Utin Jotan, Masui Dr. Tetino, and Hu Yi Ao and his family members. And of course, Professor Liana Frank from Switzerland, Professor Terapong Taranto Pitat from Chiang Mai University, formerly there, and Miss Wilawan Atichat, and he's formerly director of GIT, and Dr. Pansawa Watanakun, also former director. Now she's back into Kasisa University. Professor Henry Haney, Professor Tang, which is my old friend, and the other two Tang is Sherman Tang and Xinghai Tang, and they are the one who started me off doing research on rubies. Okay, and many papers were published in the physics paper. Actually, not many people read about it anyway. So Professor Augustine Tan, Emmanuel Fritsch, Professor Emmanuel Fritsch, Professor Ouyang Chumei, Professor Zhang Pei, and Dr. Pua Chumun and Sunny Liu. And also acknowledge our late friend, Dr. Graham Brown, which is always remembered, and Mrs. Hilda Bracewell, Mrs. Kim Hughes, and Mrs. Ann Paul, and of course, my friend, Miss Kathy Wei and Ronnie Bauer. Thank you so much. And to my family, Serena Lin, Tay Ming, and Wing, they are always helping to me to go on webinar. So I learned from there. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Tay. That was amazing. I love the Mandalay markets and the prices. That's just. I'm sure you're not sure you haven't got the decimal place in the wrong, like three zeros out. Those prices are astronomical. So, so also Tay, the gemological knowledge in there, that's a lot to take in. We're going to have to enjoy that and take in and remember. Thank you very much, Tay. That was great.
I cannot see you all.
No, you can't see me yet. I'm not on video. I'll start my video if you like. There we go.
Okay, yeah, we can start asking questions now.
And Ronnie, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Tay, can you unshare your screen so that I can put up the last part of the talk?
Oh, I see. Okay, I'll just take out from my. Just 1 second, Let me.
I've done it for you, Tay.
Okay, just 1 second. I pull out from.
I've done it for you.
Oh, done. Oh, thank you so much. Okay.
Okay. So Tay, that was terrific. Yeah, I love the way that you brought it in. And I'm looking forward to having a bit of a discussion with you about Fei Cui later on, because it's a really hot topic. So continuing on what you've just said, this boulder here was a 5 kilo block where I was asked to go to Shenzhen to value it, and it was being used as collateral to build a skyscraper. There is a AA battery. It was the most incredible imperial green that you would ever see on a boulder. And there you can see the light being shot through it. And that's what they use to get to see how good the green is in the boulder shape, in the rough, to see how good the quality of the transmitted light is through it. And I said to them at the time, I said, beautiful. Here you can still see a little bit of the skin. I said, now I want you to take a coarse sample going from here to here and then from here to here to make sure that it is consistent all the way through.
No way.
And they said, no, 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 no. They knew that this could be up. They could be in big trouble soon. Yeah. Now, what Tay touched on with the Chinese culture is very true. The most valuable type of jewelry that the Chinese want is a bangle, because the josh or the luck is all the way through. And the second most important thing to the Chinese culture are jade beads. This is the famous Barbara Hutton strand, the Woolworths heiress.
Wow.
And anybody who went to Canberra to see the Cartier exhibition, it was there. For me, as involved with the jade industry as long as I have, it was the biggest thrill to see it there. I walked up and said, no, it can't be. Yes, it is. No. Yes, it is. No, no. Yes, it is. And I couldn't believe the quality of this piece.
Oh my God. So
and it's
beautiful.
because the term translucent application, and imperial especially, is a much abused term. So again, Imperial Fei Cui, which we'll come to in a minute. And here we have two examples. And it's a bit like D in diamond grading. You can stretch it a bit to what it's not an absolute term, which could be a little bit of a problem.
Yep.
Ice jadeite is very rare. And as you can see from here, you can read, it is so translucent, you can read through the jade. And
Yep.
that's the important thing. And if you look on this, the same piece, you can see the pink and the blue.
Yes.
And this was a beautiful, and the lady came in, a husband of the lady came in, he said, I want to sell this. I said, why? My wife doesn't like it, she wants a Gucci handbag instead.
No.
So I said, do me a favor, hang on to the piece of jadeite.
It's more valuable.
Okay. Now you can see a huge drop, and it's a bit like a deep flawless diamond to the next stage of jadeite. It drops very quickly to dark apple green. You've lost the translucency, but you've still got some evenness of the color. You then get Spanish green, which is the next drop down. Again, it's starting to drop like the most hard scale here, uneven green texture. And then you get moss and green, which is a lot of what you saw in the Myanmar jade markets, the boulders, and this one is actually quite consistent. And that makes quite good and a lot of commercial jewelry. Then you get really plain lemon, a green melon, and this material is used a lot for bleaching, dyeing, and polymer filling. Then you have the lavender jade, which is a little on its own almost, which is colored due to manganese. And then Tay touched on the fact that the Emperor Qianlong was the one that really brought jade to the Chinese court, and it was very prized, and the emperor said, all jadeite is my domain and nobody else can have it. So a little story here. This teapot came into the store about 2 years ago, and a lady unwrapped it from a piece of newspaper and said to me, can you confirm that this is actually jadeite? And I said, yes, madam, this is lavender jadeite, but the skin's still attached. And you've got the frog as a little finial there, as you can see. And as you do, and Tay, you would too, you play with it, you finger it, because a lot of the carvings are actually how they're carved. And the more I was fingering it, the more I realized this is not China arts and crafts. This is actually a good piece. So not only that, eventually I get the hand lens out and start looking at it. And she said to me, no, 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 don't tell me what it's worth. I want to use it in my kitchen. I said, madam, you cannot use this. This is a price thing. Oh, no, it's fine. I just bought it at an opportunity shop for, you showed the prices in the market. How much do you think she paid for that? $39.50.
Oh my God.
That was nearly died. And that was written up in the Australian Gemologist. So let's go to the white jadeite as opposed to the white mutton fat nephrite. As you can see, this has got the waxy, greasy feel about it, because that's in the nephrites. And there you've got the more higher luster in the jadeite. So I've put these two together so that you can try and remember that. You then have what Tay has told me, they don't use the term anymore, and I'm very happy because I've always had trouble saying chloromelanite. So they just call it the black jade now. And that's due to the iron in staining. You have the green ophiolite and the cosmochlore, which Tay has touched on, so I won't talk too much about that. You then have the green nephrite, and then you have the cowl jade from South Australia, which I adore, especially the boulder. Look at the ochre. Look about it. Totally different to the outside of a boulder you would get in Asia. And it's a very dark, almost black green. And you can see it does suit itself for jewelry making, although I think it would be better to slice it into tiles and make it for a fireplace. It would look very nice. Now, as I said before, New Zealand green stone is a nephrite, and they use it for a lot of Maori wear, etc. And the last one that we should talk about in the natural is archaic jade or chicken bone. It's a yellow white, and it's been recrystallized in the firing of a funeral pyre, and it changes its physical structure dramatically. It becomes very brittle, and so you have to handle it with great care. And remember this slide, because I'm going to come to Imitations soon, and you will see something very interesting. So Tay has touched on the classifications of the type A, B, C, B, C. He didn't mention his doublet, which he mentioned many years ago. And we have a bit of we agree on this. This is not a diagnostic test, but it's called the sweat test, which was invented by Alan Hodgkinson, where the capillary action of the crystal structure can, and I stress can, be an indicator for type A jadeite. So what we have here, you can see where the drop of acid was put on it. Aqua regia, 18 karat acid will do. And after a few minutes, you get through the capillary action, you get these little sweat dots. But if you have a strong light on it, be careful. The acid will evaporate. But it's not diagnostic, and it's only indicative, and you must do more testing. This is a FTIR Raman spectrum on type A, natural jadeite, and you get this trough, which shows that there's no treatment. And there's a picture of Tay gave me these pictures many years ago of the plum juice treatment. And as he said, he used a fluoric acid or sulfuric acids these days. And if you get type B and type B and C, this is what you look for, these little peaks, because they indicate the polymer, especially the polymer, which are very, very difficult to see otherwise. You may recognize this little pendant. Thank you, Tay, for sending this through the other day. This is bleached and polymer filled. This is really over the top. You see that your alarm bells ring immediately, because that is just so unnatural looking. And here again, we have dye B and C. This actually came into the shop, and unfortunately didn't photograph very well, but you can see where the dye runs into the fissures of the crystal structure of the beads. This one is an obvious treatment. You can see the way that the colors are separated. I think the only natural part of all that would be this little section here. The rest has been completely treated to look like it's jadeite. And this is type C, where you look for the concentration of the dyes in the structure without the polymer. And here again, you can see it where it's just run into the fissures. And this, I've put this up here to show you that even the great experts can be caught. My father, when he had the Jade Gallery, bought a few of these cabochons from somebody, and we thought, oh, they're nice, and he set them into jewelry. And one thing I can tell you about type C jadeite jade is it's UV unstable. Look at the difference in the color after 6 months in the window, and especially here, which looks very much like that bleached sample that we saw earlier. So back, look at the color there. quite an attractive green. Here, you throw it in the bin and start again. This is the type D that Tay spoke about in Cooper Pedy many years ago. And as you can see here, the doublet line, I've never seen it. And have you ever seen another one, Tay?
Yes, I have some sample with me, you know, which I use for teaching.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this one here, again, this is how sneaky they are getting now. The top part is type A jade, while the lavender section down here is B and C. So unless you really are careful, you can get very caught out of these things. So let's go to the imitations, where everybody thinks, oh, I've got something here. This is serpentine bowenite, very translucent, very even color, very brittle. And if you've got a complete piece in 100 years, it'll be worth something because it almost breaks when you look at it. Now, remember the chicken bone jade I showed you, or the archaic jade? This is bowenite carved to look like from the Sung period. They have blasted with something white here to give it this old aged look. But if you look very carefully, the quality of the carving, which you can't really tell here, is very rough, very crude, totally undressed almost down here. And it is a fake, no doubt. So don't buy it at an auction site unseen. Again, known as the new jade for Hunan province in China. Notice the colors. And if you remember the cabbage in the very first slide I showed you with the insect, somebody's decided to try an insect on the top of that. And then we come to imitations, aventurine, known as Indian jade. Look for the marker flecks in it. Quite easy to tell apart. It's a quartz. Then chrysoprase, which is known as the Australian jade, very even in color. Again, it's a quartz colored by nickel. And then Hardrogrosh Lagana, known as African or Transvaal jade. Again, it's a garnet. And Freenite, again, a nice even green, but look for this little dendritic type of inclusion in it. The structure is wrong. Glass, they call it Peking glass. You can see the bubbles and the swirls. And soapstone, this is a faux dog made out of soapstone. It's soft as soft and usually painted with something to give it that finish, and it has a waxy finish and it's dyed. Now it brings us to Mountseed or Cosmoclaw. It's comprising of Jade, Cosmoclaw, chloromelanite, and albite feldspar. Originally thrown out of the jade group because it's a rock. And now we know that nearly all the pyroxides are a rock. So maybe it'll get a resurgence, a resurrection into the jade group. So here's a little table of anything green in China is a jade. Remember that. So we have here the various misnomer names and what they actually are, and especially pink jade. There is no pink jade, it's all rose quartz. And just to show you a certificate here from this laboratory, and two things I want to show you on this. First of all, they call it Fei Cui jadeite jade, so they really aren't 100% comfortable with Fei Cui on the broader scale. And there is this Raman thing showing that trough again, and which brings us, you and me, to the great argument which is in the jade industry at the moment, which is the Fei Cui controversy. And Dr. Edwin Liu and Louis Lowe especially, of the traders of Hong Kong, way back in 2013, tried to push that Fei Cui be the adopted name for the pyroxene group and completely eliminate the amphiboles from the jade terminology. I was at that meeting and I said, absolutely not, because jade is a family name. Now, the only thing last year, Dr. Edwin Liu presented at Sibjo, you quite rightly said they're pushing again, but they've shifted their position slightly. They have not discounted the amphibole group anymore, but they are pushing to make all the jadeites be Fei Cui, which has a problem in my mind, just as it has a problem with you, Tay. And the slide that he put up, which I thought was very fascinating, is this one. do we call this salmon on rice or do we call it sushi? So I can see Fei Cui being an umbrella title for the green jadeite jades, because they can't say it's a jadeite, it's a cosmoclaw, it's an anthracite. So I like it as an overreaching name, but I don't like it as a replacement name. And I do agree with you, Tay, they can't use it because of what you said with the mineralogists and the pyroxene. They can't do that. So they still have a problem getting this over the line. And at the moment, we call all jadeite, all the greens and the pyroxenes, Fei Cui is too far. I think they have to condense it back to the greens if they want to go there, because I can't see how they can even call the reds, the yellows, or the white as a Fei Cui. It doesn't make sense. I've not heard of red cosmoclaw. It's all oxidation. All right. So Tay, over to you. What do you think? Do we acknowledge that there is a place for the term Fei Cui, or do we just ignore it and say jade at jade?
No, thank you, Ronnie. For Fei Cui itself, I mentioned to Edward is that, even Louis Lowe, so long ago, almost like 10 years ago, I said to them, just leave the Fei Cui. Like Hong Kong already, a government gazetted jadeite as Fei Cui. Okay, yeah. There's no doubt. But then my suggestion to them was that don't use the word Fei Cui to describe other pyroxene mineral. Leave it alone, Don't try to reinvent the wheel again. No way.
Yeah.
The French, two things. The French has done a good job of classifying all the pyroxene using the word pyroxene first thing. Okay. Then followed by jadeite. Was Alex Demont, he's a diplomat. And he found some pieces of old pieces of jadeite from the French territory, which is in, I think, I'm not sure in Brittany or in Non. And those are the ancient people who used it as tools, okay? And eventually classified them as jadeite. So that was the French contribute to the two names, pyroxene and jadeite.
Yeah.
And the Germans, the one who came up with the word jade to describe, or the Spanish, beg your pardon, the Spanish came out to describe the word jade to cover nephrite and jadeite. Okay? And then nephrite, of course, the German scientist Werner is the one who come up with the word nephrite. And of course, as you just now you mentioned also, the word nephrite does not exist in the mineralogical word anymore. They have to use the word actinolite and tremolite.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is a clino-amphibole for that matter. So this is, although through our research, last in 2014, when we did the research, we found out there's a clino-amphibole within our jadeite. So that means in the ancient time, people were not wrong after all. The jadeite and nephrite, or what you call it, tremolite or even actinolite for that matter, coexist together within the rock itself. So I'll just leave it as that, I will not use the word Fei Cui anymore, Fei Cui, give it to the Chinese in China. I'm sorry.
Look, I'm a little different. I think that there could be a place for it, but I think they need to prove their case a lot more to get it accepted, especially in the Western world. Yeah. Okay. All right, but we're running out of time, so I think you have the Q&A. You have the Q&A now.
Yeah. Thanks.
So just before we go there, Katie.
Thanks for that thank you very much, guys, for the complete story of Jade and Fei Cui. I think there is going to be a lot of discussion in the gemological world about the nomenclature. And as we've seen, nomenclature has changed over the years as our research gets better. And we know that the Chinese don't always agree with the rest of the world. So we can look forward to this evolving conversation. I have a quick poll for people before they run away. And then we've got Q&A. So the quick poll, everybody, is up there. So if you could just type in your answers. Now, you should be viewing those questions. And I can you guys see the questions, or can everybody see those questions?
Oh, I cannot vote, huh?
Not yet, yes. Oh, great. You can see the questions. Excellent.
Yeah, I can see the questions.
This is, as you can tell, this is our first webinar. We're learning. Doesn't matter how many practices you have, technology still challenges us, keeps us on our toes. So we'll let this go for a little while we've got.
How many questions have you got?
So while I've got some questions, so I'm going to.
No. How many in the poll?
6.
That's okay, Ronnie. I'll take care of the poll.
There's only 2 questions on the screen.
No, you can move down. You have to shift down.
Oh, right. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
There's a 6.
Tay, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Lot number 107 was a jade carved Buddha. What
Yes.
makes that price so high?
Well, because it's very thick. The material is very thick.
Okay.
Okay. And therefore, the weight there is about 90 grams or something like that, you know.
Excellent. Ronnie,
Yeah,
if you
and it's very translucent, you know. Let me go back to my slides and see.
All right.
Ronnie, I'd like that wheel, the color wheel, if you could put that back up, the jade master stone chart.
Yeah, Johnny Nun's wheel. Okay. Who's gonna? Can you share both ours at the same time?
No, we can't. So Ronnie, go first, and then while Tay's looking for it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because we've got some questions on that wheel.
Yes.
So if you could just go through,
Going.
just show them there which is the most valuable. There we go.
Yes.
If you could just explain.
All right. We're here, number 1.
Yeah, I don't want you to go through the whole of it, but just to get people that idea that you went from imperial or emerald jade right through to the, come in here, the mutton, no, what's this?
No, this is only jade. This is not nephra. This is all the jade.
Correct. So we started off at the imperial and we came all the way round to the lowest quality jadeite was.
It's in sections. Each as Edmund Root and John classified them. They put them into these little sections here.
Yep.
That's how they did it. So
Can
the
I
best ones are on the inside, the poorer ones are on the outside.
Can I help?
Yeah, go.
The first section is right on the top there is the first section is the imperial green.
Yeah.
So the top quality. Then the second quality, which is the jade beads by Barbara Houghton, is on the second quality, which is the canaries. Okay, and canary, the color is very translucent. The material is very translucent, but less color as compared to imperial. Okay, then the third quality, which is on the right hand side, which is the apple green. The translucency is not there, but the intensity of the color is there. Okay, then the fourth quality on the right hand bottom, on the right hand side, which is the oily green or spinach. You can see the color, the green color, but it's very oily, it's grayish in color. So for that matter, this material is classified as number 4. Okay, the fifth one, of course, is morphisno in a white background, the jadeite material, and spot of green. So some of this material, they call it the pea green, P-E-A, pea green. Okay, the sixth quality, on the other hand, is flower green, patches of green, and with a stream of greens, but mostly white. Okay, and the translucent material is not good at all. The last one, of course, which is on the left-hand side, 7 o'clock direction, or 8 o'clock, and then that one is melon green. And melon green is very pale with spot, and sometimes we have a lot of cracks and things like that. For that matter, this material is classified as the lowest of all. In fact, they have a much lower one, which is a lower commercial material itself. So there's a range of the green color. Then on the left-hand side, 9 o'clock direction, this is the lavender. The lavender green, of course, lavender purple color, lavender color. The more intense and very translucent material can call a high price. So some of my students may ask me, can lavender color more expensive than the green? I said no. Why? Because green is still number one. And the next one, of course, the brown one, they call it red jade in China. So you have to make sure that this red material is not dye color in any way. So this is due to, like Ronnie mentioned just now, oxidations, and it's close to the skin of the jadeite boulder. And when they cut it out and then they polish it, and some of this material can be quite translucent, very deep reddish brown. Then, wow, they can call quite a high price, but of course, still not compatible to the green. And the last one is yellow. Yellow is, of course, it is used for jewelry making and so on. So this is a whole range of color for the quality grade. Okay.
Thank you, Tay. That's a great summary. I've got a question for Ronnie on how do you ascertain the age of the Quilong teapot?
Oh,
how? By the how would I say,
Design?
the carving techniques and the shape and the design is consistent with pieces of that era when we've seen it. Now you got to understand it's Qianlong is in the 1700s, and a lot of this went all the way into the Qing period. So that it could be a different emperor. So it could be a bit younger, but I think it definitely fits into that slot of about 1700 to about middle 1800s. But Qianlong died, I think, at the end of the 1700s. So it could be the emperor after him, the Qing emperor after him. But it's very much in that period. And you can tell by the way that the spout is drilled, the way the handle is carved, the lack of roughness anywhere. This was not done with modern machinery. This was painstakingly carved by hand and is using just the powders and rubbing. It took forever.
Thanks, Ronnie. Possibly, Tay, this is a question for you.
no, just now there was a question about the Jade Buddha.
Yes, we answered that one.
And no, just to show you, I just put on the screen
Yes.
of the material itself, which is 10, was it 108 or 103? Was it 10? Is it 108 or 103?
107, I thought.
108. The Buddha carving, $950,000 US.
107.
107.
That's what the question says, 107.
107 is 28 grand.
Okay.
So the material is quite thick, no?
Screen, please. No?
Yeah. Can you see that? No.
You can share your screen now.
I share my screen already.
Okay.
Can you see that?
No. Can you see it, Ronnie?
No.
No, okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
But we might speed up. Because we might speed up a little bit because of the time frame. We're going out of time. And I would like to, Gina would like to know, I've lost the question, not what is the most valuable, but what's the most rarest jadeite?
Oh, Imperial Jade. True Imperial Jadeite will be rare, will be the rarest and most sought after.
So, Ronnie, with that picture of the top,
the Barbara Hatton strand, yeah.
the ring that was top and bottom, was that one whole piece or was that joined?
Oh, you're talking the Fletcher ring now. That was one whole ring that was type A on the top and BC on the bottom, as Tay described it in...
and Ronnie, just to correct you, that piece is completely B plus C. The
you
green
still
part,
are, you've changed your mind.
No, I didn't change my mind. There's miscommunications. The top one is the whole thing is B plus C, except that see dye color, which is on the green part on the top of the jade. Can you see me or not?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so as a result, that material itself is B plus C. The whole thing is B plus C. Beg your
But
pardon.
that makes it a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, I'll change the slide.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, any student that's attended my class for the last 15 years, change your slide. All right.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Okay.
And the next question would be, Tay, would I be able to determine dye in jade using a UV light?
Yes, sometimes we can use, but preferably use a loop or even the microscope to identify the presence of dye in the fissures or even in the cracks itself. It's very important, you know. And the absorption spectrum, if you got absorption spectrum, you look for the absorption band of the dye color, which is 650 to 670. Okay, yes. So there's a thick band at 650 to 670. That thick band refers to as dye color. Okay.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Angela Beach is asking, does brown or red jadeite have a chromium to give this color?
No, it's oxidation.
No. Oxidation.
And we're also being asked about the lavender. Is it A jade, B jade, or C jade, or all of the above? Well,
yes.
probably all of the above.
Same thing. Same thing.
So it can be natural jade, or it can be B plus C. It can be dark.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Can you explain more sit and what characteristics and why it is so cheap? I've seen it sell for $25.
I'll let you answer that, Tay.
No, that one is because the material is very opaque. Okay, first thing is opaque. And because it's not translucent as the jadeite material itself, so as a result, the opaque material, and the green is very opaque. So that's one thing that not many people appreciate that, Okay.
So
yes.
If that's also, then we will go to Tay and say, should the anthracite be very dark green, almost black? The slide showed anthracite to be a chrysoprase-like green.
Yes, it's possible.
It is possible.
Yeah, it's possible. That's why some years ago, there are people who buy top quality imperial jade and it turned out to be anthracite. So this is something that you need to chew on it, especially if a customer would have plenty of money to take you to the court, then you have to take into consideration then.
So then another reason why they want to call it Fei Cui, to get around that problem.
No way. If the one we call Fei Cui anthracite, no, people will take you to court, for that matter,
And Julie Foster's asking, will we still see the aggregate crystalline structure in high-grade imperial jade or ice jade?
Strong magnification you'll need.
Yeah, you can see that.
And just quickly, how is jade carved?
Oh.
Well, in the old days by hand, now they use a Dremel. And it's machine done today, but Tay would have seen a lot more of that in Myanmar. Go for it.
Yeah, in Myanmar, I have to compare them between Myanmar and China. Okay, in Burma, especially in jade market in Mandalay, they would use you have to different grade of grinding. So eventually from 600, maybe up to 2,200 different grades of grinding machine, plates, beg your pardon. And then after that, you go into polishing. And then some people still use bamboo. And because bamboo has a presence of silica in the bamboo itself, so in a way, it's good for polishing, especially in Burma. Okay, they use that a lot. And if you were to go to Guangzhou or even other part of China, they use a diamond powder. It's much more expensive. And as a result, the quality of polish is much improved. Okay, so there's two distinctions. I think the Burmese are catching up anyway. for that matter. So you can see the quality of polish, especially in China. The technology of polishing or even the design of the carving itself is quite different from the Burmese itself. So they're quite distinct in a way. So quality of polishing play an important part. Besides, of course, the color, the translucency of the material itself, the polish had to be, should be very good. Especially in China. Burma also, they have done very good polish, but then they are catching up a lot.
Thanks, Tay. That's good
Yes,
information to know for identification.
Yeah.
And
Catherine.
Paula's
Yeah.
got one last question from Paula. It's a very good question. Is there any field gemologist tests that you can do without going to the lab to verify that jade is natural?
Good questions.
Good question. I'd say no.
No, good question, because as you mentioned, Kathy, you mentioned that I went to Australia a number of times to teach this course on how to identify natural jade from the treated ones using a loop or even a microscope. Remember that?
Yes, yes.
So what do we need to do actually is we have to understand the polycrystalline structure of a jadeite, and then using reflected light, and the loop, you look for grain damage caused by acid treatment, and that grain damage caused by acid treatment can help you to identify the B from the A jade. Okay, so grain damage is very for those people who without the infrared spectrometer and things like that, and you can apply to the field actually. So some of my students have used that to go to Guangzhou or even other places in China. The technique of using reflected light to look at the polycrystalline material first thing, and then secondly is the quality of polish, and on top of that you have to look at the grain damage caused by the acid. So that grain damage appear to have, if it is granular, you can see the honeycomb-like appearance. If the jade is a fibrous in nature, then you can see the fibrous longish appearance for that matter. So you have to use a reflector light. You can no need to come to the lab for testing.
Okay.
I will say for what Tay has said, he's absolutely correct, but a lot of experience is required to know what you're looking at there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tay. Well, we'll need our reference pieces, but because it's such an isomorphic rock, we're going to need a lot of reference pieces.
Yeah.
And we just got the results of the poll, and I'm glad to say.
Wow, this good result.
Yeah. Thank you for paying attention, everybody.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It's only the B plus C jade that people got a little bit skewed on, but it's definitely B jade is the bleached jade, and C is the bleached and impregnated, with polymer, and C jade is the dyed jade. So B plus C is both dyed, bleached, and impregnated.
That's the last one.
We've all got, there's no blue jade out there yet. It hasn't been discovered yet.
Oh, they are blue jade, yes.
We don't.
What is Australian jade? Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So well done, everybody. You did fabulously on that.
Yeah.
And does anybody have any last questions?
No, but while you're getting that together, I just want to hold up this book, if you can see it. I don't know if it's flaring.
It's flaring. Hold it up in front of your face, Ronnie.
There you can see the title, Jade for You, my very worn book. So, and it's got that whole section on the color wheel in there. These are you can see it's tearing apart there. The other book, which is very interesting, but it only deals with jadeite jade. Whoop, what's happened? There we go. That's a very good one. But you can see there's a hidden agenda in this one to knock out the actinolite and the tremolite series. It's completely ignored. And for those who are really interested in the teapot, there's the Australian gemologist where that was featured in.
Can I add in some more?
Yeah, you please do.
Yes, here's the book on the geology of Myanmar. If anybody interested, is edited by my professor Tony Barber and Professor Kim Zhou, and Dr. Mike Crow. And there's a chapter on Jade and even the ruby minings and so on, ruby geological and things like that. And the published in the London Geological Society Memoir 48. Okay, can you see that, Ronnie?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Thanks,
You can see.
That's
Most
a good
welcome.
one.
That's all. Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Right.
That's all.
I think we're
Over to you, Kate.
I think we've got a couple of questions left, but I think we can answer them offline because it's now an hour and 3/4. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing all your knowledge, your expertise. We've all had a lot of fun. We've certainly learnt a lot. I'm certainly going to keep all my slides when we get them out and keep them as a reference because that was a wonderful presentation. Really enjoyed that, and we did learn a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me too.
Fei Cui and Saga.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for enjoying, and thank you all for coming along and participating and making it such a great event.
Where will you be putting this up so people can view it later?
Yes, Ronnie, that's another question that we don't have the answer to. Just
Right, okay.
we're working on that one. Thank you all very much for attending, and we'll see you again in a month's time when we have a new topic to keep you entertained and engaged and look after you as our GAA community and family. And thank you for being a part of it tonight, Tay. We'll
Say
wait.
your mask, Melbourneites.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for attending.
Thank you.
We're all dropping out now.
Yep. Can see that.
I'm just going to answer a couple of questions on the Q&A that.
Okay.
I'll stay back for that.
Do you need me?
No, Tay, you're just wonderful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I think
Lucky.
Oh,
Yeah,
before you
welcome.
go, damn it, I forgot to put it up. I want to show you something. Just hang on.
What is it? Yeah, go ahead, please.
I
Go.
want to share my
Please.
screen.
Sure.
And there you go.
Oh, wow. It's
That was a big night for both of us.
yeah, a long time ago.
Emmanuel Frisk.
Oh,
That's
wow.
that's Emmanuel Fritsch, who you were talking about a lot.
Ronnie, it's a bit
Yeah.
small. Can you make it bigger?
I'll try. How do you
Yeah.
make it bigger? I don't know how to make it bigger. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe, wait. How do you make it full screen? I can't make it. I'll try. Is this in size? How do you change the size?
Up the top, the 100%, up the top somewhere.
No.
Here. Pause sharing, promote more. I really don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky the seminar is over.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a really incredible night for me.
Yeah. It was good. I enjoy too. You know.
Yeah.
I invite my professor to be there too. You know.
Yeah.
And he was very delighted that I received that award. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you, guys.
And good night.
Good night. See you again.
Nephrite is now.
Hi, Laura.
Nephrite's now broken down into actinolite and
Tremolite.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just writing an answer. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. One more question. Where does icy jade fit into this diagram?
No, this diagram is This diagram is in 1990s, and then the ICJ came in year 2000 plus or 2000 something. You know, so that does not come in at all.
Okay.
So
they didn't have any room on the wheel for it.
yeah, and for your information, there is a grading of ICJ in China. Okay, Laura, and this ICJ is grading is based on the translucency. As Ronnie mentioned just now, you can see the writing on the piece of paper. If you put the piece of jade on top, you know, you can put the jade on top piece of paper, and you can see the writing very clear. And those are top quality material.
So what
No.
year did
The
it
moment you see a bit of silky like appearance and things like that, the quality drops.
Dramatically.
Sorry, what
Yeah. Go ahead.
year?
Sorry?
What year did I see Jade come in?
Yeah, about 2000, year 2000, or slightly around late 90s and early 2000. So almost 20 years already. So these are new material that comes in and become popular. Just like omphocyte also. Omphocyte was a present that time, but no, there was not much imagination. And the jewelry designer came along and said, okay, let's add in some black and some colorless, the white translucent IC material. Then voila, then you have the new design, and it captured the imagination of the market.
There is a good parallel, and that's the Argyle diamonds. When they started finding all those browns, they said, we have to make a market for it. And that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah. Can I just jump in? Because there was a couple of questions that were put in the chat box, and I asked the people to put them in the Q&A box, but they didn't follow across. There was a question about jadeite holding its value in the second-hand resale market and how it holds its value there.
Okay, can I answer it? Okay, Ronnie, sorry, Laura. Yes, there is a second-hand market for this material, not in Australia. Too bad. In Australia, they don't appreciate so much of jadeite as I remember Dr. Graham Brown said, oh, we don't know much about jadeite at all. You know, I said, okay, I'll come here and give a talk about that. So for second, that's why many of the jadeite which break the market price, you know, selling by the millions of dollars, mostly are sold in Hong Kong. And that is where the market is.
Hong Kong.
You have to know the market. If you sell it in somewhere in New York or somewhere in Sydney and things like that, or even somewhere in South Africa, no one interested.
There is one exception, Geneva. You can get some very good prices.
Yeah. So it's the place that you can get the market is in Asia. Okay, in Asia.
I would assume, Tay, that it would also have to have appropriate certification with us to be able to get the top quality price in those markets as well. So what type of certificates are best?
Oh my goodness, it is right.
Tay, you need to get Tay's certificate.
You can get my certificate, but then most of the certificate in the market right now is in Hong Kong. Okay, and on top of that, more recently, people tend to get a double certificate, just like rubies and sapphires and things like that. They get 3 different certificates for a ruby, or 3 certificates for country of origin, you know, or even 4 certificates, you know, and so on.
Yeah.
So for that matter, SSCF come in, Googling, not so much of Googling, SSCF and even GIA certificate for that matter. So that certification is well recognized for that matter. And
to add to what Tay just said, there's a lot of what you call boutique laboratories around, and their certificates are not worth the paper they're printed on, because they don't actually drill down to what is the important part of is it polymer filled or not, or is it dyed. You know, they just say, yes, it's a refractive index, that's the SG, it's jadeite, jade fits you. But you need to know more, because they haven't got the equipment.
So if you want to go for a reputable one, go for the Hong Kong Jade Association. And on top of that, there's in Hong Kong Jade Association, there's 2 groups.
That's right.
And that one group is really genuine, like Ronnie just shown. Okay, the other group is a manufacturer association. And that one, they call it the BJSA Jade. So you have to make inquiry before you jump into buying them, or make a bid for it in the auctions. Okay, very important.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions?
Is there smuggling still going on?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm assuming so.
No. Are we on air?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. You can say, Ronnie, I don't want to say, this is not my business.
Well, I will actually put on record, more people have died for jade and ruby than will ever have died for blood diamonds. That's a fact.
Okay, well, I might take it on. I might stop it. Yeah. Okay. Sarah Claire asks Ronnie, were there any updates from Sijo re Fei Cui?
No,
No, I don't.
not since the presentation.
Okay.
Oh, Ronnie, you are in the SIPJO committee?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
No,
So
but
I shouldn't
you
be
and I
talking
are
to you.
closer together.
No, I don't want to talk to you. Too hot to handle, you know.
Sorry, too hot to handle. No,
Yeah.
contrary. I think a lot of what you say is absolutely correct.
Okay.
A lot of what you say, I agree with. Absolutely.
Okay.
No, you're safe. You're safe. And you're absolutely right. Without the mineralogists accepting the transfer of the name of the pyroxene, they can't get it up.
No, they want. My feeling is that they want to use the Fei Cui just to market, to sell, nothing else. And at the end of the day, are you responsible for it? After a customer bought his Fei Cui and turned out to be on site, are you responsible for it? And then from the gemologist's point of view, or even from the jade dealer's point of view, are you responsible? So that's why I said we have to fall back on to the scientific facts.
I totally agree.
Okay.
I think it's more of an archery.
It's very simple. Very simple. It's like that.
It's overreaching that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next. Any more questions?
Yeah. Come on, guys.
And
That's a
Kate,
wrap.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I just want to
Laura.
ask Laura one more question, Laura.
there was one more question that was placed in the chat box from Jill Penn, who had asked a lot of questions in the question answer. She said, I thought the white translucent jade is so rare that it might be more expensive than green.
No, it's green. Green is traditional. Okay. So if old man like me, so I go for a traditional one. And then in China, the young people say, oh, I like the pure jadeite, without adulterated naturally, green or even brown or whatever. I go for the IC jade. So there's a difference in generation, generation gaps. So as a result, young people say, oh, I don't mind to have a colorless jadeite. I say, go ahead, please,
Now they want a Gucci bag instead.
Thanks, everybody. That's wonderful. Had a great night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Call it a wrap.
Oh, your time there is 9 o'clock. Is it what time? 9 p.m.
9 o'clock. Enough.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And thank you for staying up.
Okay. You're most welcome. I enjoy it so much. Thank you.
It's lovely to see you again.
Yeah, lovely. Bye-bye. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Have the fun with the masks.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Got my Hello Kitty one. Bye.
See ya.
Laura, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording.